After a few years, maybe 5, whenever your honeymoon period ends, you start to notice that the spark in the marriage may have dimmed a bit, may have gone, not quite gone out, but it's really dim. It's a little bit more of a cold fire than it is of anything else. This is called roommate syndrome. And we're going to be talking about where did that spark go in episode 224 of The Relaxed Male. This is The Relaxed Male, a show that comes to you each week helping men to remove the nice guy from their life so they can actually live their life on their terms. Join the host, certified coach Brian Goodwin, as he helps men step out of their heads and become free from the thoughts that bind them. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Male. I'm your host Brian, and I am a certified men's coach who assists men who are just neck deep in the suffering of their life. We're trying to figure out where that relationship is going, why the relationship is struggling so much. And men who are going through things like this are also going through like divorces and job losses and things like that. And they struggle with this so much that when it comes to their day-to-day life, they get buried just neck deep in all these day-to-day struggles. Life comes at us fast, and sometimes we become just so overwhelmed that we do not know what to do. I help these men get to the root of what their suffering is, help them climb out of that problem, step back, see what their thoughts are around that actual circumstance so they can change how they're seeing the world, seeing their relationship, and be able to step into that relationship fuller, more committed, more confident, and more sure of themselves so that they can actually live the life that they are wanting to live. And guys, today we're talking about the dreaded roommate syndrome. We've talked about this before and talked about actually why roommate syndrome is good. But one of the things I didn't actually cover was why roommate syndrome happens. What is roommate syndrome? Why do we have such a problem with it? And that's what I want to dive a little further into this actual episode. And the reason behind everything that happens with a relationship, as I've said before, is it's our thoughts and our thoughts behind what the circumstances are. And a lot of times we go through life very unintentionally. And when that happens, we notice that so many more things come at us in a weird way, and come at us in a way that wants us to fall into a more of a victim mindset. And so let's take a step and let's look back and let's step back. Let's look at a relationship that we're in. Maybe we're married. We've been married for 10 years, 15 years, 25, 28 years, somewhere in that area. You're noticing that the relationship was nowhere near as va-va-voom as it used to be, right? We used to, grab quickies in the bedroom while the kiddos were sleeping, or we would always have just these fun, adventurous times. We would sit back, we'd laugh, we'd stay up through half the night talking. And now it's like 9:00 shows up. We're crawling into bed. We may kiss each other goodnight. A lot of times we do, but it just becomes where we have a roommate with benefits, essentially, because we still from time to time we'll get to have a little sex here and there, but it's nowhere near as passionate. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are worried about like scheduling sex. Is because it's like, oh, well, you're taking all the spontaneity out. Well, to a point, yes. But also you're making sure that you're putting that important item in your life front and center. Are you going to have very lackluster sex from time to time? Yeah. There's going to be times where it's just like, so as you're taking your shirt off, so what happened today? Oh, nothing really big, as she's unsnapping her bra. And okay, when y'all are both naked, all right, and y'all just kind of do it. It lasts the 15 minutes and you're done and y'all go on about your day. And it may seem very robotic and scary, because there's that lack of passion. And that's how it would wind up being if you don't try to get out of the roommate syndrome. So we've got the roommate syndrome. It's that just as it sounds, it's that problem of the relationship where there's no passion in it. There's no just fun, exciting, even slightly naughty type of element as it was when y'all were dating and when you first got married. All of that goes back, and we're still looking back on there going, well, we don't do that anymore. Well, yeah, but at the same time, if you're 50 years old, you're not, us guys, I hate to tell you this, you can't go like you were when you were a teenager. All right. You can't do 4 rounds in a night and still expect to have a working back the following day. Your wife can't go 5 rounds in a night without expecting to start having the smell of burnt rubber going on. I mean, things are going to start drying up and our mind's going to eventually start to wander. We're not as sex focused when we are 45, 50 years old as we were when we were 18 to 25. At that time, it was all about the sex. Let's get laid. How many times can I bop her? That was the whole thing. But now you go through and it's not so much, can we have sex? Can we have meaningful sex? Can we have a meaningful connection? And a lot of people ignore that. They think, sex should be just like I was when I was 25. And no, man, we can't. I mean, admittingly, I can sometimes, if I'm really, mentally geared up for it, we can grab it twice in a day, but it's going to be, there's a good stretch of time in between there as everything goes through and resets. I used to be able to, when I was 25, it'd be just bop, keep going, have an orgasm, keep going. And, it'd be, an hour before I had the next one, but that's not, that is unrealistic these days. And why is it that sex is so important to us guys? Well, for us guys, we are very physical. We have the fact that our wives are willing to show us that she is willing to get vulnerable for us is what makes us feel loved. The very physical act of her getting undressed, the physical act that she is willing to caress us and to handle us and to have sex with us is the act that we take that causes us to believe that we are loved and that we have done something good. Yet when we don't get that, when we don't have that happen, we start to really run into issues where we start trying to figure out, why does she not love me anymore? And the sex, it kind of starts to, if you're not being intentional with it, sex will diminish. And that's, again, I've mentioned it before, but women aren't gung-ho about sex. They like it. It feels good. You ask any of them, they'll tell you it's great. But at the same time, if they had a choice between getting naked and having sex or watching every episode of their favorite television show, they would choose their television show. It's not a dig on the women. It's just the fact that, one, it's a pain in the ass for a woman to get undressed, to go off and through the process of having sex. Yeah, they are very mental. So they're mentally oriented. Let's put it that way. A lot of women, yeah, they are mental, but it's anyhow, before I dig myself in a hole. When it comes to sex, they have to mentally prepare. They have to go into whatever space in their head and actually mentally get themselves prepared to actually have sex. They have to get themselves get the pumps primed, so to speak. And us guys, I mean, as soon as we see boobs, it's and we're ready to go almost. But it's a different thing for women. They have to prepare to accept a man. That's why one of the reasons why foreplay is so important for them. It's not so much for us. It's more for them. If we can actually probably last a little bit longer if we didn't do foreplay, but because our wives need the foreplay. And it's just, and on top of that, foreplay is just really freaking fun. It becomes a bit of a chore for the wife, for the girlfriend, for any woman. And so because it's a problem and as more and more things fall on a woman's plate, as society puts their demands, the family puts on their demands, and husband has his demands. Yeah, she's going to get a little bit tired. Now, can she do it? Oh, hell yeah, she can. And she often finds fulfillment in fulfilling those demands, except for the society, and societal demands are very subjective, and people think that that's what they're supposed to be doing. And 90% of the time it's not. But when you have all these demands, and if a woman is adding work to the equation, I mean, she can still find fulfillment, but she's also going to have divided her energy up into smaller segments. And so one of the first things that goes if they're seeing their social calendar, or their calendar, not just social calendar, but their calendar fill up, is where are places that I can cut away? And sex is one of those. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm really not feeling sexy tonight, so we're not going to do that this Saturday night. And so starts out sex twice a week, down to once a week, down to every other week, down to once a month, every other month, every 6 months, once a year for your birthday. And it happens. And a sexless marriage is a rather sad marriage, in my opinion. But a lot of women, if they didn't have sex, they would actually be okay with it, because they want to have sex for just the 3 reasons. And that is it's not that they want, they will have sex for the 3 main reasons. If they are trying to find a man, if they're wanting to have kids, or they are afraid that they are going to lose the man that they have. This is one reason why girls who have run around and don't believe that they don't need to be married, they can't seem to help themselves on racking up a body count. They are still trying to land a man or keep a man. And so they're stuck in this eternal cycle. But when it comes to the roommate syndrome, that through all the events of life, you've had disagreements, you've had times where you've probably have spoken out and you broke the 97% rule, which is 97% of the crap you want to say, you don't say it. And you've gone ahead and blurted out something that was kind of hurtful in her mind. She said stuff that's hurtful in your mind. You've asked her she'd like to have a little roll in the hay, and she's gone, no, not tonight, I've had a headache. And she said she's had a headache long enough that you're actually starting to consider taking her to a neurologist. These are things that happen. And those are signs where we don't pick up when we're just coming home, we're sitting down, we're watching television, playing video games, or doing something else. And instead of reconnecting at the end of the day, that's where roommate syndrome creeps in. When you can make marriage safe enough for her, yes, she may end up having a busy day. She may end up having a very action-packed day, even where kiddos have been running all over. They've been little heathens, and you've got the boss. Her boss was screaming down her neck for whatever reason, and everything else. And she comes home and she sees you as a pillar of stability, instead of someone who's going to come to her with all your problems and throw in and do an emotional vomit all over her. If she knows that you're emotionally safe, then sex becomes a very integral part for her too, because she wants to be able to keep you. She wants to be able to satisfy you and make sure that you are pleased with home life. But it also is tough for guys. Guys, you fall into your own little routine too. It's not that you don't want sex. It's just that You don't want to have to face the rejection of asking her for the 100th time. Hey, do you want to do something tonight? And have her go, no, I just really don't feel like it, or I'm really tired, or I've got a headache, or I'm too cold, or I'm too hot, or the wind's not blowing out of the right direction through the window, or whatever excuse she wants to give. And she says no. And so we become very avoidant of that rejection. And because we do, we take it as something against us. At first it's like, oh, okay. But then, 7th, 8th, 10th time of being told no, we're kind of like going, well, okay, well, what's the freaking deal, dude? All right. It's been 2 weeks now. Why are you not in the mood? And the question is why are you not asking her that information? Well, I don't want to get into a fight. That's the fear. That's the fear of you not wanting to connect. You can have a conversation about these very things and come to an understanding, and you can have that connection but you're afraid of having a disagreement. Could it lead to a possible disagreement? Yeah. You have no control over what her thoughts are. If you come to her asking her, well, why do we not have sex anymore? And it's like, good grief, honey, we had sex 2 weeks ago. What are you complaining about? She could get angry about that, or it could be that she has the thought of, crap, he's paying attention. I got busted, and I was caught slipping, and she could get angry about that. She's going to get angry with what it is what she sees as what she's doing wrong. But we find it easier to not have to worry about making her mad, because she gets mad. We ain't going to have sex, because there's been times where we've been promised sex, and somewhere during that day, you looked at her cross-eyed or looked at her with in the wrong tone. and she's like, boom, no, never mind. We're not doing anything tonight. And you got told, and then the promise got yanked out from underneath you. And so it's easier for us to eventually start turning to the computer, turn to the phone, and start looking at Facebook or Instagram, or even worse, going and starting to watch porn. Now, is porn an addictive substance? No, I don't believe porn is addictive. I don't believe there is a such thing as an addiction. But I do believe it is easier to turn to porn and to jerk off than it is to face the rejection and the emotional commitment that it takes to have a connection with your wife. And because of all this being easier and easier than just sitting down and watching a dirty flick on the video on the phone. But yeah, if we take the time and we do that, and we actually try to connect with our wife, we find that the connection is stronger. We find that we actually have sex more often. We find that maybe she doesn't have the desire to have sex. So maybe it's easier just to give you a blowjob, or maybe it's just easier for you to get naked. She stays clothed and she beats you off, and you're okay. It's some type of physical touch. There's solutions, and the only way you come to these solutions is by talking. And I get it. Those talks are awkward and weird and bizarre, and you kind of are left going, oh, okay, did I just sell my body out to my wife or something? And you feel weird about that. But those are the important connections. Doing that uncomfortable thing. Going for what you're wanting. Are you wanting some type of sex more often? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. It depends on you. And then posing the question to your wife and having those discussions. You may not have the solution the first discussion, but you're probably going to have it on the 10th. You're going to start coming up with some type of solution as y'all keep talking. And she's going to find some way of being able to help you, and you're going to find ways of helping her. I think I've mentioned it before, but if not, me and my wife, we have a kind of a very similar situation. She really isn't very much into sex. And is that a terrible thing? Well, it can be, but if you're willing to have those discussions, you kind of find out, well, she did have a hysterectomy, so she doesn't have the same level of sex hormones that she used to have before. As a matter of fact, she really doesn't have much in the way of sex hormones anymore, because she doesn't have her ovaries. But She knows that sex is important for me. Sex is important for our relationship. And so do we get to do the horizontal mambo, once a week? No. We may not get it except for maybe every other month, but she still has found ways to be able to pleasure me. I found ways of being able to pleasure her. And most of the time it's kind of a barter system. We kind of make fun of it more than anything, but we do a back rub, and the back rub is for, if a 30-minute back rub may be a handy, but if I'll work my arms off and go last an hour, then all right, well, we've got a little Hummer coming along. If I can stretch it out for 2 hours, then okay, then we'll go for, she's more willing to take the clothes off. I put in some work, she put in some work, and we're all both happy. But you have to be able to talk. You have to, because the roommate syndrome is going to cause the relationship to fail. You're going to have your marriage or any type of relationship fall apart when you hit that roommate syndrome and you don't try to fix the problem. The roommate syndrome is the universe, I guess you could call it, way of saying you need to grow up just a little bit more. You grow up a little bit more, you improve yourself a bit, your relationship's going to become better. If you grow up just a hair bit more, you're going to increase the curiosity in your wife, and she's going to be more curious about what you're trying to do. If you do the work, you have to take the steps. And there's ways that you can rekindle the spark. I mean, starting off with just the whole word rekindle. When you're kindling a spark, you've actually got just a little element, a little ember that's hot and is easily able to go out. So what do? You add some more really fine material to it. Something that can get air to it and circulate and let it heat up. And eventually those little, like we call them feather sticks, where you shave a stick down and you get little bits of really fine shavings around the stick. You can actually hold that to a small smoldering pile of embers, and it will catch. And that little pile of embers will actually expand, and it will grow, and it will become a larger fire. And as you add kindling, it's small stuff that goes into bigger stuff until you eventually you're throwing logs and whole trees and stuff on there to feed this fire. So to kill off the roommate syndrome, first you have to start with the end in mind. What is it that you need to improve on? Where do you need to be? Who do you need to be to have your wife show up again? And I'll give you a hint. It's actually you. For all the talk that I have about looking in the rearview mirror and why you don't want to do that, one of the things you do want to do is actually look back at what you used to do when you were younger. What did you do when you were courting your wife? When you were dating your wife and you were trying to get her to really show interest in you? We did goofy things. We were silly for each other. And that's a good thing. We want to be silly for each other. We want to be able to laugh. I mean, hell, me and my wife went to, my birthday was last night, and we went to a Mexican food restaurant, and sadly, I don't know, I guess they had a new bartender or whatever, but screwed the margaritas up. I think they either used way too much, or the wrong ratio of sweet and sour, but I don't think that's it, because I've had just plain, sweet and sour margarita mix without the tequila, and it tastes okay. You got the sweet and the sour. But one of the things this is horrible. I think they got the triple sect and bitters or something confused, because wow, these margaritas, they turned you autistic. I mean, you were like, you got it, your face crinkled up, you got the ticks and everything else. And it was just, oh my gosh, I couldn't finish it. And it was rough, but the whole time we were doing it, these margaritas, though they were horrible, and we were, they're expensive at the same time. And we're trying to finish it down because that's a lot of alcohol. And we were just laughing at ourselves because every time you could tell someone would take a drink and I would twitch or, we had a good time. And that was the important part of rekindling. We had fun. She was making fun of me. I was making fun of her. We were being silly. You got to have fun in your life. Rediscover that silly you. Rediscover that you can have fun, because as we grow up, we bring in the thought of, well, I'm supposed to be the responsible man of the house and blah, blah, blah. And so you stop being fun because you think you can't be fun and responsible at the same time. But you can be fun. You can be responsible. You can be silly. You can be romantic and still laugh. All right. You can still be goofy, though society keeps wanting to make the married man the comic relief of the show. We are the comic relief for our families. But we are also the defenders of our family. We are also the providers for our family. We are all that. We don't have just one role. We're not just there to be the comic relief, but that is one of our roles. We're also not there to be, Mr. Stuffy Butt, because that's no fun. Your kids want to have fun with dad. Your kids want to enjoy being around dad. Dad is there to have fun. Even watch the damn gorillas. You see the head gorilla. He's sitting around just, looking all serious and stuff until Mrs. walks along and he reaches out and he pinches her butt or grabs her by the nipple. And then you see him and there's been videos of, there's one, silverback gorilla, and I can't remember what his name is, but he is one of they consider him a great dad because one of the female gorillas who has his children wants to very much protect the baby and doesn't and cuddles the baby and loves on the baby. But then from time to time, he'll sneak in and he'll steal the baby. And he'll go running around the pen and with the mama gorilla chasing after him. And you see them doing it. It's in a very playful manner because she'll come up and she'll take the baby and she'll go back away. But at the same time, you saw him having fun. You saw we're big hairy gorillas sometimes, but we know how to have fun. We're wonderful men. We are men. When we have our group of other men, we see that more. If you want to rekindle the spark in your relationship, you've got to start having fun. You also have got to start having more connections with other men, which sounds really weird because you as a man are designed to shoulder all the negativity that your family has. You're the trash man, so to speak. So you take all the negative energy and all the negative thoughts and you process those negative thoughts for your family. And you go out and when you hang out with other men, they just naturally take that negative energy away from you. And through the glory of masculinity, converted into positive energy, converted into positive thought. And us guys go back into life, go back to our families, light and refreshed and happy and happy-go-lucky. And we enjoy our family. But when we do not have our friends and our men around us, we start to let that weight carry us down. We start becoming moody and grumpy and really just kind of nasty and not so much fun. And we stop being silly and we stop being loving. And that's why we need the other men around. We have to be able to take the steps, take the small steps, start wooing and dating our wives again. When you start taking the steps of getting out of your comfort zone and stop doing the natural routine of stuff, you'll see things becoming better. And if you want help with your relationship becoming better, I have still got spots for the $300, 95% off package. If you're interested in doing that, if you're interested in changing your relationship with your wife, if you're interested in changing the relationship you have with your kids, change the relationships you have with your boss, you can do that. And it takes just one link, relaxedmail.com/coaching offer. Mention that you would like to do the 95% off. Just mention the coaching offer, 95% off. And I'll shoot you a link for the best time that you would like to have a consult call. We'll look at it and we'll talk it through. We'll see if, where are you at in your life? Are you wanting, how badly of a change do you really want to have? And with that, we'll then start working. We'll start once a week. Boom, 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 talking to each other for about an hour, getting to know each other, getting to know what the problem is, and start changing how you look at your life. Start changing how you look at the world, and so that you can actually become the better husband, coworker, father, friend for those around. But that's what you have to do, though. You have to go to relaxedmail.com/coaching offer. That's the only way you're going to get this special deal. So guys, with that, I want to say thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, any comments, you can shoot me an email over at brian@relaxedmail.com. I would love to be able to hear from you, talk to you, see what's going on in your world, and see if we can do a little talking and growing and connecting with ourselves. And guys, it's one of those wonderful things. All you have to do is just, when you start getting coached, you start seeing the possibilities that come about. I am your biggest cheerleader, and I can't wait to be able to help you. So guys, thank you again for listening. Y'all take care. We'll see y'all next week. Till then, bye.